is a black cat crossing your path. During the Middle Ages, many people thought black cats were familiars or companions of witches. Today, I am going to talk to you about superstitions. So the first superstition that I'm going to talk to you is about opening an umbrella in the house. And so why is this a superstition? Where did it come from? Some historians believe that it came back from the ancient Egyptians. So some historians, they believe that it came from the ancient Egyptians and surrounded the use of the pharaohs came from the pharaohs using pretty much would have been sun umbrellas or parasols. But it's probably actually related to a more modern use of rain gear, such as this umbrella. And historians actually think the warning of using an umbrella in the house comes actually from Victorian England. In the book, Extraordinary Origins of Everyday Things, the author actually writes about 18th century London, and they said a rigidly spoked umbrella, so they would have like spokes to them, and they would have these mechanisms, and it would pop open. When opened suddenly in a small room, could seriously injure an adult or a child and possibly break small objects. Even a small incident could provoke unpleasant words and minor quarrels, and pretty much is probably what led to the superstition of pretty much people saying don't open it up, because whenever something like that happens, somebody gets hurt, something gets broken, it's bad luck. So don't do it. The next superstition has to do with walking under a ladder. So this is my ladder, and it's against a wall. And basically the superstition is that it's bad luck to walk under the ladder. Again, this one actually is believed to come from Egyptian times, about 5,000 years ago, because the Egyptians saw triangles, which the ladder is actually making a triangle here, right? They saw triangles as being sacred. The idea of walking through a triangle as desecrating that sacredness of the triangle, which is the triangles, again, their pyramids were triangles, right? So they thought of that as being sacrilegious, basically, as violating that sacredness, right? And then through the ages, centuries later, during the time of Jesus Christ and the cross, when they had the cross, right, apparently there was a ladder that was put against it. That's what I read in the little thing when I did my research. So it was a ladder that was put against that. And so it was thought to be a wicked thing. The relationship of this ladder and the crucifix was thought to be a wicked thing. So walking underneath it would cause misfortune. And in England, in the 1600s, criminals that were walking to the gallows, so they were walking to the gallows to be hung, right? They would actually make them walk under a ladder on their way to the gallows to be hung, right? So walking under a ladder through the Egyptian times and through the time of Jesus Christ and following into the 1600s has always been thought of being bad luck. I think it's actually just probably dangerous. Not a good idea to walk underneath a ladder. Probably the ladder was unstable and somebody got hurt. So the superstition was, it's bad luck. My next superstition is a broken mirror. A broken mirror gives you 7 years of bad luck. So this actually goes back to ancient Greece, where it was common for people to consult mirror seers. So people that would look into a mirror to kind of see your future, right? So they told their fortunes by analyzing their reflections in the mirror, the seers or the mirror seers. And they would often have people also look into water. They would have people look into water at their reflections. And it was thought of is that if your image was distorted, like my image, if I look in the mirror, my image is distorted, right? My image would be distorted if I look in the mirror. That if you look in the water and the water is rippling, that you're likely to die. Now, that was back in the time of ancient Greece. Romans in the first century actually kind of changed that up, and they changed it to the superstition that the broken mirror would give you 7 years of bad luck, because they had this belief that people's health, how healthy they were, right, changed every 7 years. So that superstition of having the broken mirror is basically that your health, if you break that mirror, your health is going to be affected for 7 years because your health changes every 7 years. My next superstition has to do with salt. Now, spilling salt was always thought of being bad luck. So when you spill salt, or it was bad luck. So the idea was to toss some salt over your left shoulder, not your right. Toss it over your left shoulder, and that will help avoid the bad luck of when the salt spills. Now, why was that bad luck? Because salt actually was something that used to preserve their food. And it was actually very, very expensive, right? So this goes back to the time of the ancient Sumerians. They would actually try to nullify or try to reverse the bad luck that you would get from spilling the salt by taking that same salt and throwing it over their left shoulder. Throwing just a pinch, just a little bit of salt, and pinch, a little bit of pinch, throw it over your left shoulder. The ancient Egyptians continued this, and the Assyrians as well, and then the Greeks. This superstition ultimately reflects to how much people prized salt. And actually the word salary, money that we earn for our work, comes from the word salt, because the ancient Egyptian soldiers were paid. And when they were paid a salt ration, or salt money, which is where that word salary came in, and where the idiom "not worth his salts" came from. Now, another one is to knock on wood. I'll say, my son has his driving test next week. I really think he's going to pass. And then I say, knock on wood, because I don't want to give myself bad luck. I just pretty much said, yes, he's going to pass. And then I think, geez, okay, I'm pretty much assuming that's going to happen. That's bad luck. Let me knock on some wood. Although historians think that this has become most prevalent custom of saying knock on wood in the United States, the origin is kind of in doubt. Some attribute it to the ancient times of touching the crucifix and taking an oath. Another thought is that people in Europe in the Middle Ages would have the habit of knocking very loudly on wood to keep away evil spirits. My final example is a black cat crossing your path. Now, many cultures agree that black cats are powerful, but they don't all agree on whether they are evil or whether they are good. So ancient Egyptians, they worshipped cats, right? They actually would mummify the cats and bury the cats in the tombs and in the pyramids with them. And they revered all cats, whether they were black or whether they were hairless, any kind of cat, they revered them, they worshipped them, and thought that they brought them good luck. Later, their black cat's positive reputation can be seen in King Charles I in England, who treasured his black cat as a pet. And when his black cat died, he lamented. He was so sad when the cat was gone. He lamented that. And it was thought that it was kind of bad luck, because the very next day he was arrested and sentenced and charged for high treason. During the Middle Ages, many people thought black cats were familiars or companions of witches. And even thought that the black cats themselves were witches in disguise. And so it was thought that a black cat crossing your path would be a sign of bad luck, and that the devil was watching you. Ooh, the devil is watching me, right? The devil. This is my not so good drawing of a devil here, but here he's holding his trident or his devil fork. So they thought that either that black cat was the witch or a devil watching them, right? And they thought that the cats were bad luck. It seemed to be a belief even in the times of the Pilgrims, when the Pilgrims came to the Americas, and they came actually very close to where I live in Massachusetts. Here's my pilgrim. Actually, they wouldn't be smiling. They were very serious people. So when the Pilgrims came, they continued. This seems to have been a dominant belief of when the Pilgrims came to America as well, explaining the very strong belief of black cats and witchcraft that exists in this country. Like if you go to Salem, and my daughter and I went to Salem on vacation this past summer, it's famous for not such a good thing. The people of Salem in that time in 1693 put to death, I believe, almost 20 people accused of being witches. So black cats were thought of being the familiars or being the witches themselves in disguise in Salem, Massachusetts. Do you have superstitions in your country where you live? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like the video, please subscribe and don't forget to hit our bell. That way you'll know when we post new videos. Thanks for watching.